Jumanji is a board game horror movie. And you're probably thinking, Jumanji's not a horror movie, which it kinda is. And I will be explaining why I think it's a horror movie in the review, so let's get to the plot. The plot of the movie is basically a young boy in the 60s ends up finding this board game and he plays it with this neighbor girl. Unfortunately, this board game warps reality and is not a good board game and basically sucks this boy into this board game until the next player rolls a 5 or 8. But unfortunately for the boy, the only player was this girl who got terrified that she just witnessed her friend get sucked into this board game and bats chased her away, basically leaving this board game unplayed for 20 plus years, where this boy just had to survive and grow up living in this alternate dimension board game reality. Well, fast forward, it's been 20 plus years and a new family moves into this house as the old owners of the boy that got sucked into the board game moved away, or that's what you think at first. And these two siblings, boy and girl, whose parents died and now they're under the care of their aunt, basically find this board game in the house and they continue the game that was started 20 something years ago. And just shenanigans from this board game basically bringing into reality things like killer mosquitoes, deviant monkeys, bloodthirsty lion, just crazy things like that. Well, the boy ends up rolling a 5, and since this is the continuation of the game from 20 years ago, the boy who was stuck in Jumanji gets released. And now he's an old man and he's confused because, you've just been in this alternate reality jungle and now you're back in the real world. Utterly in disbelief that he's out, he goes to look for his family, realizes that his mom and dad's dead, and now that he and these two kids have to finish the game where they can just end Jumanji, but realizing that he's not actually the next player up, they realize that they have to get the girl that also was playing the game 20 so years ago. So, through some shenanigans, they get her, but she's kind of a nutcase as she witnessed a little boy get dragged into this board game. And they just try to complete this game as just they summon tons of just killer things from just Killer Stampede, a guy that's hunting Robin Williams, killer plants, crazy giant spiders, you name it. This board game is bringing into reality to basically, I assume, kill the players. And that is about the movie. Do they beat Jumanji or do they not? Watch the movie. So, my review of Jumanji. Honestly, this movie is just extremely good and was just one of my favorite movies growing up. Honestly, on the rewatch, because I haven't watched this movie, in a massively long time, everything held up besides the monkeys. I don't know why they didn't really use practical effects on the monkeys. They were just CGI, and with this being 4K, you could just really tell how bad that looked. But the lion was a combination of practical effects with some special effects, CGI, and that looked really good. Just some things still looked insanely good. The plants, the spiders, that all looked really, really good. And just the story of Jumanji is crazy. The acting is insanely good. Now, with all that kind of stuff out of the way, why do I think it's a horror movie? From literally the very beginning of this movie, they kind of set this tone that this board game is just extremely evil, as when the kids are burying it, it literally just feels like a horror movie from just the thunderstorm to just them being freaked out over this Jumanji game. Fast forward, the concept of Jumanji is just terrifying, as it is a thing that can literally warp reality and time, as seen in the very end of this movie, where it literally completely rewinds time. Like, that was insane. Basically, altering the time. That's some Flashpoint shit. It was crazy how powerful Jumanji is. Also, everything it summons is just regular creatures, but they're all jacked up on murder. From, if it's a spider, they're giant murder spiders. If they're plants, they're giant murder plants. If they're mosquitoes, they're giant mosquitoes that murder. Literally, if this game does something, it's not like it summons butterflies and rainbows. It is literally just things that are meant to kill you, which evil killing board game. How is that not something out of the horror genre? Also, just based on his dialogue, Robin Williams' dialogue, it makes me believe that while he was stuck in Jumanji, that he literally had to deal with everything that was summoned while he was stuck there for the 20 plus years. So he had to deal with the mosquitoes, the spiders, the earthquakes, the floods, the stampedes, the monkeys, the everything, which just sounds actually more terrifying than just playing the game, because playing the game you may only have to fight one or two of those things, but while stuck in it, you have to deal with it all. And that's why I think it's a horror, not exactly a horror movie, but heavily influenced by some kind of horror aspect. So my recommendation for Jumanji, this is just going to be short, it's 100% must see, as this is just a classic. Don't watch the other Jumanjis, as they're nothing like Robin Williams' Jumanji. The other ones are like comedies, while this is just way, way darker.